It's time for HawgSports Live from HawgSports.com, a division of 24/7 Sports, presented by Crain Automotive. The Crain Team's got 'em. Visit them online at crainteam.com. And now with the latest breaking updates on HawgSports, here's Trey Biddy.
What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HAWGsports.com, where we are 50% off right now, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Well, the MLB Draft just wrapped up. I was looking at the graphic. I hope that wasn't misleading because I said MLB Draft and Razorback SEC Media Day up next. But anyway, MLB Draft has concluded. A record number of Razorbacks drafted. We're going to be joined by Kevin Bohannon to discuss that. Malik Thomas just dropped 30 in an NBA Summer League game. We'll talk about the Summer League a little bit. And I want to talk about SEC Media Days, what it means for Arkansas, maybe who we could expect. They haven't announced who is going yet, what parameters might be out there for them to select, because it is a difficult choice this year. All that more on today's episode, plus a lot of your questions on today's episode of Hawg Sports Live. The Crain Automotive Team knows stretching your dollar is important. With prices at the pump, interest rates, and everything else, we focus on making your life more affordable by offering vehicles with the highest rated fuel economy and safety features, plus a large selection of hybrid vehicles. We make it easy to get on the road with a vehicle that won't break the bank. We have a vehicle for every lifestyle and every budget. Come get one at one of our 17 statewide locations or visit crainteam.com today. Hawg Sports Live is driven by the Crain Automotive Team.
You've done it. Now you're the Crain Cash Champ. You just won big with the Crain Team. Go ahead, soak it up. How could you not feel like a winner? You dominated with our low price guarantee, and you got way more for your trade. Plus, with statewide delivery on thousands of vehicles from 16 locations, and the fact that we'll beat any other dealer's price, we make our Kansans feel like champions every day. That's winning. That's the Crain Team. Visit crainteam.com.
That's winning. That's the Crain Team. Visit crainteam.com today. Okay, so let's start with a little Summer League stuff. Malik Thomas turning heads. He dropped 30 the other day. Or when was that? When was that, actually? Let's see, 2026 in full swing, especially to off Las Vegas for the weekend. Well represented. 11 players. Malik Thomas in a headline, a handful of Razorbacks returned heads and showed out in the Sin City over the weekend. This is from Connor Goodson. So he was, and John Calipari was there. They showed him on TV several times. He stuffed stat sheet, scoring 30 points on 10 of 24 shooting, including 4 of 10 from deep, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, and 4 steals in 34 minutes of action. So pretty good standout showing for him. He's with Cleveland, obviously. They lost to Detroit 103-94. But it's kind of the story of the game. So pretty cool. Obviously, we know Darius Acuff has been lighting it up pretty good. Adu Thero made it on SportsCenter's top 10. He had a big highlight dunk in the Lakers' 96-84 win over OKC on Friday. So it's good to see Razorbacks standing out. Obviously, Acuff, let's see, in his Friday debut, he went for 19 points on 6 of 20 shooting, 3 of 9 from deep to go with 7 dimes, 3 boards, and 2 steals. So he continues to stand out, put up a lot of points. He's not necessarily just shooting great from the floor, but he is putting up a lot of points. Okay. So this was posted on our board by the Boar Room. And again, we're going to get into a lot of your questions, but it's a graphic about Arkansas's record the last 25 years. And 11 of those 25 seasons have been losing seasons where they had, 5 wins or fewer. And of course, I only had 5 wins twice, so a lot of stinkers. What's crazy about this is over half of those seasons, 6 seasons, half of those have come in the last 9 seasons. 6 losers in 9 seasons. Just to refresh your memory, 2-10 last year, 7-6 the year before that, 4-8, 7-6, 9-4, and then 3-7, 2-10, 2-10, 4-8 all the way back to 2017. So Arkansas football has been atrocious the last 9 seasons. And we're starting a new era with Ryan Silverfield in year 10. Will things change for this program? Will they get back on track? Will they see this kind of stuff again, even if they do get back on track? I mean, we've seen times where there's been a resurgence. 2014, they go 7-6. 2015, they go 8-5. Drop down to 7-6 in 2016, but you didn't expect, 4-8, 2-10, 2-10, 3-7 right after that. And that followed 4-8 and 3-9, post Bobby Petrino. So there's more, everybody likes to bag on Sam Pittman. And yes, he had his faults and stuff, but there are bigger problems with Arkansas than just needing to hire a new football coach. And Arkansas has to figure out what that is and change it quick. I do think that they have done a good job raising money. It's not a great job, but they've done a good job. They need more money. They're not a poverty program anymore, but they need more. And that's what it takes to compete this day and age in college football. And you can see some of the reasons where Arkansas is coming up short, or has come up short in the past, with some of the facilities, just kind of lagging a little bit behind. 15 years ago, they may have been fine, but not where they necessarily need to be today. Game day atmosphere. There's a lot of reasons why Arkansas football isn't winning. And part of it has been the coaching. That's just part of it. Some of it has been, you may argue, higher leadership, the athletic director. The fans support, but they support with their wallets. And it's expensive as hell to go to a football game. And it's a big time suck. And to go to these games and just to think about, if you're a season ticket holder in the last 9 seasons, you've watched 6 just terrible years. And not just a 5-win season, but 1, 2, 3, count them, 3 2-win seasons in the last 9 years. A 3-7 season, 2 4-8 seasons, just stinkers, not even sniffing going to a bowl game. That's been your experience. So hopefully that changes here soon and Arkansas gets back on track. And it's going to be interesting SEC Media Days. I want to talk about that a good bit here. But first, I'd like to tell you about our friends over at Blakeman's. Blakeman's Fine Jewelry is proud to be the official jeweler of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Ben Blakeman and his team had an exciting year in their new flagship space at 3202 Pinnacle Hills Parkway in Rogers and are continuing their signature hospitality and service in 2026. Visit them. They'll offer to clean your jewelry, offer you a coffee beverage from Cafe B or their own Blakeman's Prosecco, which, by the way, is offered in several stores in Northwest Arkansas. And if you can't make it, you can also shop them online at Blakeman'sFineJewelry.com. Since 1987, Blakeman's has been Northwest Arkansas's trusted destination for exceptional jewelry and personalized service. Again, 3202 Pinnacle Hills Parkway in Rogers. Okay, so SEC Media Day lineup. This is not this Thursday for Arkansas. It's next Thursday. The event begins on Monday. Okay, next Monday. So we're a week out from SEC Media Days. And, I think there's a lot to look forward to. I will usually, last year, I didn't even go to the event. I was just thinking, I'm going to go to all of their away football games, which I went to everybody but Memphis. I'm going to go to all the away football games. Let's put our money in that experience. And the year before, it was in Atlanta last year. The year before, it was in Dallas. And I woke up, I took an early morning flight, went into Dallas, attended the last day at SEC Media Days where everybody had cleared out basically, and, attended all the Arkansas stuff, got on a plane that night, and went back home. I didn't even pack a bag. I didn't even pack luggage. I packed bag, equipment and stuff, but I didn't pack any clothes and stuff. So, but this year, there's so many new coaches that I'm going for the entire event. On Monday, it's Will Stein at Kentucky, and nobody's, I don't think, announced who is going, and I want to talk about some of the parameters for that too. But it's Will Stein at Kentucky, Eli Drinkwitz, Missouri, Oklahoma, Brent Venables, Tennessee, Josh Heupel. So you get Will Stein on Monday. This is probably, if you're going to miss a day, I would say the Monday is the day to miss. Although Monday night you have, if you're media, you have a lot of media, and this is SEC Media Day, so you have a lot of media events and stuff in the early part. And people tend to wane a little bit more. But Tuesday you get Alex Golish. I want to ask Alex Golish, is your inner monologue in Russian? Because he lived in Russia till he was 7. You ever wonder that? Like he's fully Americanized, I think he wears his wedding ring on his right hand, which Russians do. But I wonder, when you're just sitting there thinking about football, is it in Russian in your head? Some people don't hear a voice in their head. I think most people do, but I don't think everybody hears. I hear my own basically my own voice in my head when I'm thinking. But I wonder is his in Russian? I don't know. Weird, maybe a weird thought by me. But anyway, but Alex Golish, so be able to see another new coach in person there on Tuesday. Wednesday, the 22nd, you get Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, John Sumrall, new coach at Florida, Pete Golding, new coach at Ole Miss, technically, even though he's promoted from defensive coordinator, Mike Elko at Texas A&M. And then Thursday, you get Ryan Silverfield at Arkansas, Lane Kiffin at LSU, Jeff Lebby, Mississippi State, and Texas, Steve Sarkisian. So you get a new coach, at least one new coach every single day. So I think it makes sense to go for the full event. I think it makes sense this year more than any other year. And, even though Arkansas is on the last day, they are still – it's a pretty flashy day. You get LSU and Kiffin. A lot of people will stick around for that. You get Texas, of course, and people will stick around for that, even though it's all the way over from Tampa, from Austin to Tampa. And Mississippi State's not going to draw a whole lot. Arkansas might, just for the sole reason that there's a new coach. They might get a little bit more attention and stuff. So who should Arkansas bring? Arkansas has not yet announced. They should be doing that pretty quick. I would expect in the next day or two you're going to see an announcement about who Arkansas is bringing to SEC Media Day. So here's the parameters. This is the Trey Biddy SEC Media Days guidelines for who you should bring, okay? Number one thing to remember, this is SEC Media Days. It is not Senior Reward Day. Do not manipulate this into a reward for good behavior or because you're a senior or because you made good grades and stuff. Do not manipulate this. This needs to be players that represent your program who are your best players, period. It's not Senior Reward Day. Brett Bielema never got that. Sam Pittman did a good job of it. Chad Morris only had a couple opportunities. He didn't get it either. So if you're number two, this is rule number 2. If you're bringing an offensive lineman, you must also bring an offensive skill player or a quarterback. Okay? I can understand bringing an offensive lineman. Caden Kittler, I think, makes a lot of sense, possibly as a guy that you could bring. But if you're doing that, you need to bring a flash guy, okay? You must have at least one representative on each side of the ball. One year, Brett Bielema brought all offensive players and bring anybody on defense. You have to have at least one representative on – you're bringing 3 players on both sides of the ball. Don't bring someone – if they struggle in front of a camera, unless they are a serious award candidate. If they're a bad interview, if they're not comfortable, don't bring them. Unless they are a serious award candidate. All right, now this is for coaches. Number 5, think outside the box. Have some jokes. Have a great quote or two or an interesting story loaded in the chamber. Okay, have some sound bites ready. If you want good coverage of your program, make the media wonder, what is this guy going to say next? Nobody wants to hear about community service. Nobody wants to hear about you had the highest GPA the last 3 years in your program's history when you had a losing record last year. You only get to talk about your academics and your character if you had a successful season last season. That's the only – if you didn't, then you don't get to talk about it. Okay? Let's not forget what's first and foremost for everybody. Yeah, it's great and everything to have great GPA, good character program. Everybody's striving for that. The main thing that matters is winning. I don't care what anybody says. That's what matters. That's what people are showing up for. Not just like, they got their tails kicked, but man, it's a bunch of good kids, isn't it? A lot of people would take like, this guy's got questionable character, but he can really run, versus the guy that, you know what I'm talking about. Let's not pretend this is a PG-13 movie where you really hope the sweet innocent guy gets the girl here, right? You want the rated R movie. My best bet, Quincy Rhodes. I think that makes a lot of sense. SEC second team performer last year, all SEC. Really good interview, funny, and also a senior. And that should be counted, obviously, but it shouldn't be the priority. I think Caden Kittler makes a lot of sense. Kittler's in his second year here, played under the former coach. He's a returning starter, and brings it maybe a little bit different background. Good interview also. And then I was thinking maybe Sutton Smith makes a lot of sense. He's a guy that was with Silverfield for the last 4 years at Memphis and can bring that, from that side of things, and also is a good interview. Other ones I would consider CJ Brown. He's a starter last year. He's, came up through the high school ranks at Arkansas. He's a third-year guy. Consider Braylon Russell, maybe to a lesser extent because he doesn't have as many starts under his belt. And maybe Jamari Hawkins out of Memphis for the same reason you consider Sutton Smith. But I think that Rhodes, Kittler, and Smith make the most sense. But I would be surprised if it's somebody outside of the 5 or 6 that I just mentioned there. Again, we should expect something in the next day or two on when that should come out. Okay. We can get some more stuff on SEC Media Days, some of maybe the past decisions that have been made. Chad Morris's decision to bring Devwah Whaley over the returning starter at running back and Rakeem Boyd. Why? Because Devwah Whaley was a senior. Let's not forget that Whaley ran for 309 yards that year and Boyd went for 1,133. All right, let's go to Kevin Bohannon now. Kevin joins us on the Ozarks Go, excuse me, on the Ozarks Go hotline. If you're looking for fast, consistent, reliable internet service, go check out our friends at Ozarks Go. 479-684-4900 or go to ozarksgo.net/hog, HAWG. K-Bo.
What's up?
Record number of players drafted for Arkansas, and I guess it got kind of close. There was a couple of pitchers late, and what did you think of the MLB draft? And by the way, great coverage over the weekend. Basically had a breakdown of everybody that got selected, so that was really good reading.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a busy 613 picks over 2 days. Usually the MLB draft is kind of split over 3 days. They'll do it, a Sunday night. They've done it, the first 3 rounds on a Sunday night. I've been at draft parties where that has happened. Then they go Monday and Tuesday, but they did everything in a 2-day period. So from 10:30 to 6:30 on Sunday, it was seeing who was going to be drafted. And Arkansas did set a school record with 12 players drafted in the worst season that they've had statistically, win totals in the last 10 years, which is, kind of ironic when you look at how everything worked out. Cooper Dossett going in the 17th round, and then Parker Coyle being the last pick at number 603 to the Guardians. It's what we kind of really expected, or what I expected from this. The really surprise, obviously, I thought Carson Wiggins would get drafted and signed. I did not see him going high as number 27 to the Mets. He'll sign for north of $2 million and start his pro career. Hunter Dietz and Ryder Helfrich in the first round, and Arkansas has 3 first-round picks this year, making it 7 in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, what does this lineup look like now that the draft is over?
Yeah.
I mean,
not much different than what we thought going into the draft, honestly. TJ Pompey was the one that slipped through and didn't sign, so his number was high enough that teams did not want to meet it. But they did lose Wills McGinnis, the Georgia State transfer portal corner infielder. So trading those out is kind of a wash, in my opinion. I think when they bring back Pompey, he's going to hit for a better average next year. So here's what it looks like on the diamond. Here's what the starting lineup in 2027 could really look like come February. Nolan Traeger at catcher, the TCU transfer. Of course, he'll be backed up by Carter Rutenbar. At first base, you could have Charlotte transfer Dawson Bryce. At second base, Nolan Sousa, backed up possibly by Spencer Browning. The shortstop, middle infielder from Pleasant Grove, Texas. He was a top 100 player by perfect game. Going to third base, TJ Pompey. Luke Cornelison also has experience over there at the hot corner. He's a two-way player out in the Cali Collegiate League this summer. At shortstop, Manny Marin from Tennessee. So you'll have a transfer portal guy at shortstop. Look for freshman Dylan Cheek to come in and possibly be in that top 4 rotation as well. And then the outfield, it'll flip over once again. Third straight year, Brenton Clark or Christian Turner in left. Zeb Allen coming in from UCA will be in center field, and then AJ Avasco in right field. They could change things up a little bit and put Avasco at first base and put Christian Turner starting in the outfield with Allen and Clark. That's a really speedy outfield when you look at it from a time perspective and how they attack angles. So they do have some things they can move around, but the draft didn't kill the Hogs too bad like people thought it would.
Of the 3 portal commitments that were drafted, is there a chance one of them maybe doesn't sign?
Possibly Chris Diaz. He started at Miami, went to Florida Gulf Coast. He got drafted in the 14th round. He could possibly come back or come to Arkansas. Obviously, he hasn't been there yet, but he could be there. Now, he had room assignment set up. I think he was gonna be a roommate with Manny Marin on campus. We'll just have to see what he is offered. Players have until July 27th at 4 p.m. Central Time to sign with the MLB club that drafted them. I think Wills McGinnis, who was drafted in the 11th, and Ben Cleary out of Santa Clara, who was drafted in the 12th. I believe both of those guys will sign. The teams that took them had a little bit more money to work with. That'll be over the $150,000 that teams can sign players for in that 11 to 20 range without it affecting their bonus pool cap. So I think they'll get over 150 to go to school. But I think Chris Diaz possibly right now has a chance to come back.
Anybody else that they could consider signing? Depending on how things go, I guess.
I think, and I talked to a couple people this morning. The coaching staff and DJ Baxendale did a great job of this as his first summer as general manager, even though he really worked in that role without the title over the last couple of years. He likes the pitching staff. He likes the depth that they got going right there. But I think if they lose Diaz, they could possibly replace somebody out of the portal. It was a weak portal class for starting pitchers. You have guys like Luke Niswanger, who's coming in from Central Michigan that will push for a rotation spot. You got a couple of JUCO guys, Micah Henson, one to look at, and of course Michael Malky coming from the WAC. But if I think they add somebody out of the portal, I think it'll be a pitcher.
Lost my spot there. Hey, did you see this? This is from A to Z Sports, which
yeah.
Take it for what it's worth on them. But the latest report on Tony Vitello is the last thing that Tennessee Vol fans wanted to hear. Just like discussion that he may end up returning to college.
Yeah,
like people are like, they would be surprised if he doesn't.
that comes out every time the Giants lose, and if they lose really bad, it really starts turning up the heat. It's going to have to be a perfect situation for him. That's something that Coach Vitello, being the competitor and the man that I've known for a few years now, he wants to go out there and prove that he could do it. And it's a bad organization right now as far as talent goes. Buster Posey wants to get more talent out there to the Bay. But yeah, it's funny every time something comes up because they know Dave Van Horn is at the end of his career and Tony Vitello could just slide in there. It's something that comes up every time somewhere, whether it be social media or smoke signals coming up from the left coast. It comes up every time the Giants lose.
We had this question, and by the way, get your questions into the comments right now, and we'll get to them here shortly. But we had this question last week, basically asking how long I thought Dave Van Horn and John Calipari would coach, and Cal is 67 and Van Horn is 65. I was thinking maybe 5 years out of both, but with Van Horn, I kind of think that he might coach until he wins it all. What are your thoughts?
So he has a rollover contract that's automatically extended every year till 2031. That would obviously put him at 70 years old, where he's at right now. I could see 3 more years. It is tougher in today's college baseball game to flip a roster just about every year. So they've got 26 new guys that'll be coming in now with after the draft and everything. So 26, and they'll have to pare that down a little bit. And that's from the portal, high school ranks, JUCO. So you have to flip a roster every year. That gets tiring, and that taxes a coaching staff. That taxes the head coach that's in his mid-60s. So I could see 3 years. I said after last year, I put a cap of 5 on it. So I could see him going till 29.
Yeah. What do you think he's working with NIL? I was talking to a former player the other day, and he was like, him and his group of guys are saying they were talking like it's like $4 million that they're working with now.
I could
Does that sound
see
about right?
Yeah, between 3.5 and 4 million. That's what I was going to estimate it at. Because as of 2 years ago, I had them at about 2.25. So adding about $1 million, $1.5 million to that makes sense. It sounds about right considering the guys that they've got and the numbers that I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Anything else?
That's it. We'll keep everybody updated. The rosters tracker will be updated continuously as players sign or announce their intentions to come to Arkansas. However they decide, the roster tracker will be updated and posted at the top of HawgSports.com every time that's announced.
All right, everybody, check them out at HawgSports, HAWGsports.com, which, again, 50% off right now. And follow Kevin at Cabo Baseball Guru on X. Read all his content at HawgSports. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, buddy. See you.
All right, everybody. Kevin Bohannon with the latest baseball news. And what do we want to hop to next? We're going to talk a little bit more about SEC Media Days. So here's some of the past decisions that were made. The 2020 event was canceled. Okay. In 2020, that would have been Pittman's first. 2021 was impacted by COVID-19 restrictions, but Pittman got it right. He invited KJ Jefferson, your starting quarterback, Bumper Poole, an all-SEC candidate, and Jalen Catalon. Perfect group. Perfect execution. And not all seniors. Like, he got it. You don't have to just bring seniors. 2023, KJ Jefferson returned. Landon Jackson, Rocket Sanders. Nailed it. 2024, Taylon Green, which that's kind of an interesting one because you're bringing in a starting quarterback who hasn't started for you in the past, which is pretty rare to do, but it happens. But Taylon Green, Andrew Armstrong, and Landon Jackson again. You bring, Landon Jackson obviously made sense to bring again. Can't argue with that. Last year, Green came for his second year again. Makes sense to bring your starting quarterback again. Cam Ball and Xavier Sori. I think you could have also made a case for Fernando Carmona, but Carmona was coming off of that incident in the Texas Tech. That was still pretty fresh, that sportsmanlike incident, when he kind of stepped on dude's hand. And that, I think, probably prevented Fernando Carmona from going because they were both pretty equal in terms of, how they were viewed, NFL prospects and at the time, and, all SEC type caliber. And Fernando was, a better interview than Xavier was, but I think that made sense for why he didn't make that trip. Brett Bielema did. He brought deserving seniors every year, which was, again, a terrible policy. Bielema nailed it at SEC Media Days in front of the microphone, saying, stuff like, talking about Bijan Jackson's great big ass, talking about borderline erotic. I mean, he was a great soundbite. People loved following him around and the stuff that he would say. But one year he brings a fullback, which I love Kiro Small, but, fullback's not a flashy position. He brings a fullback, an offensive lineman, and a defensive end. The next year he brought a safety, a defensive end, and an offensive lineman. Like, these are not good choices if you're trying to promote your program. 2015, he did well. He brought a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, but he failed to bring a single defensive player, which violates my third guideline. 2016, it was linebacker, defensive end, tight end. I mean, this is not how you do it. And I mentioned, Chad Morris in 2019, bringing Devwall Whaley over Rakeem Boyd because Whaley was a senior and Boyd was a junior. And he kind of failed. Morris failed everywhere. He failed in terms of good, usable content at the podium, bringing the right players, all that stuff. Yelda Froholt in 2018, who was the lone offensive representative. Just poor decisions. Follow my guidelines. They're pretty simple. Again, not senior reward day, not a reward for doing all the right stuff off the field. Okay, this is SEC Media Day, not SEC Senior Day. Pick an offensive lineman. You also have to pick an offensive skill player or quarterback. One representative at least on both sides of the ball. Don't bring someone who struggles in front of a camera unless you got to bring them because they're an award candidate. And coaches, nobody wants to hear a bunch of coach speak at the podium about doing things the right way and academics and community service. We want to hear some great stories, jokes, think outside the box. Just have some stuff loaded in the chamber ready to go. And you can only talk about community service and academics if you had a good season last year. All right, we're going to get to some questions here. I'd like to tell you about our friends over at Bittle Armstrong because you guys know how much I value long-standing relationships, and I've known Bo Bittle for 25 years when I needed car insurance, when I needed homeowners insurance, and when I needed business insurance for HawgSports. I called Bittle Armstrong. Bo, Rob Armstrong, and their team have over 100 years combined experience. They work with you just like Auto Owners Insurance works with them. Expect local support from somebody you know. Questions about your policy, you can call them direct rather than a 1-800 number. Auto Owners Insurance intended it that way so you don't have to wait on hold forever. Don't settle for a generic policy. Wherever you are in Northwest Arkansas, give Bittle Armstrong a call at 479-443-0808 or visit ba-ins.com. Auto Owners Insurance owns an AM Best rating A+ superior. They trust people like Bo to work for you. Bittle Armstrong Insurance. Coverage you need, people you trust. All right. Question time. This was very popular. That's so I decided. I mean, we always answer questions, but like last show, I did a ton of questions. That was basically the whole show. So wanted to make sure we got some stuff in early. This is from Delta Hog 21. What do other staffs in the SEC think about Silverfield hire and direction? Name me the three leaders on the team besides KJ Jackson. So I've heard mixed things actually. I've heard some think he's a good coach, some doesn't think he's the right fit. Maybe I've heard some stuff from, people that maybe, I don't know how to say that without giving something away. I can't do that. I just say I've heard mixed, and, obviously people who know him are going to speak highly of him, and people who watch him from a distance, may have another opinion. So name the three leaders on this team besides KJ Jackson. Okay. Quincy Rhodes. I think Hunter Osborne. Bradley Shaw. I'm not sure on the secondary who I would say, like maybe Christian Harrison could be. Kamori House, I would say. I know I'm going a lot. Like, here we go again, coach speak. Everybody's a leader. Everybody's stepping up. Caden Kittler, offensive line. CJ Brown. Willie B. Hardigan. I know your name. Did you win the 11th flight at the 4-ball? Also, would you recommend Castle Bay or Max Fly iron covers? I don't recommend iron covers. I was not in the 11th flight. I was in the 5th flight, which the Fayetteville 4-ball, there's some sticks out there. I mean, me and my partner, he's like probably a 9 handicap, and I'm like I was in the 5th flight. That's probably all guys that average out to about a 10. So if you have a 5 and a 15, kind of. But we play he's probably slightly better than me. And we were in the 5th flight, and it was competitive. We won the first day. It's head-to-head match play. We won the second day, and then we didn't finish in the money on Sunday. But it's a fun tournament. It's really one of my favorite weekends of the year. So don't recommend the iron covers though. We won the first day, and so the guys we were playing who were really good guys. We played good guys the whole time, but they beat us on. It was the 6th hole, which would have been the 18th, for us. But they beat us, and we were up 1 to tie us, and then it's aggregate after that. So it's his score and my score, not just the best ball. So we step up. It's a par 3. It's 185 yards, I think, that day. And they go first, and they go sand trap left, sand trap right. And then my partner gets up, and he sticks it 12 feet from the pin. And I'm just like, there's a huge body of water in front of this. And I'm just like, do not hit this in the water. And then I did the same thing. I put it 12 feet from the pin. And then we were, putt, keep it close. And we won. But that was probably the highlight hole for us. So that's all the talk I'll give you on golf. Nobody wants to hear everybody's. I've heard so many stories, like you're walking by guys, y'all win? Yeah, we won. And then they're going to give you a rundown of the story, and you listen, and you're like, that's just kind of how it is. But it was also cool because most of my friends, like the guys that I'm close with, most of them were on teams that won, or at least made it to Sunday. You had to go 1-1 at least. So that was cool. Razorback in NYC, I'm sure this is going to be an incredibly detailed, like there's graphs and charts and stuff. Let's see what you got. A lot of the times Razorback in NYC asks questions that I have to think about, and I can't answer on air because I just have to pause and think. But he asks, is Ron Roberts going to tweak his defensive philosophy to be more tailored to 2026 offenses than it was in 25 for 25 offenses? I would think so. We don't know what all is going to be super trendy yet, but he has done that. They will be in that mint tight front, I should say. They will be in that probably 25% of the time, which they will tell you like we're a 3-4, but it's really, you can call it a 4-2-5. You call it a bunch of different things if you want. But that works really well against zone, okay? And in the future, you're going to have, or not in the future, but more presently, you have teams going back to more power stuff as defensive adjusted to that hurry up tempo, spread, zone type of stuff. And teams will run more power, be a little bit more methodical, be fast and slow at the same time. Just their idea of tempo is controlling the tempo more than it used to just be. How fast can we possibly go? So he has adjusted it, obviously, because he doesn't just stay in it, but you still need to have it because teams will do that. How many points per game do you think we will have allowed through week 4? It's a good question. They play Georgia, they play Utah, they play North Alabama, and they play Tulsa. Okay, so how many points per game? How about 29? A lot could be skewed on that Georgia game. But it also skewed the other way against North Alabama and Utah. So say they give up 17 against North Alabama. It's early. It's first season, new coach. 17's a lot. Let's allow 13, okay? All right, so 13 there against Utah. Could be 31. It's at their place. Georgia could be 42. And Tulsa, hopefully we're back down. This is maybe a bad case scenario. Tulsa, 17. 13, 31, 42, and 17, whatever that averages out to. That's just off the top of my head. We should be under 20 points per game allowed if we plan to finish the median SEC at the end of the season, closer to 15 points per game allowed than 20. So I've always said, like, if you can hold your opponent, then that's Houston Nutt. If you hold your opponent to 27 or less, then you should win the game. Where do you think Arkansas's defense will rank at the end of the regular season amongst SEC and allowed points per game? Let's see. So last year, scoring defense, Arkansas was dead last, as we know, at 33.8. A middle-of-the-pack type of defense, as he mentioned, is going to be around 20, 21 points. So last year, if you look at teams 6 through 10, they averaged 20.3, Texas, to South Carolina, 22.1. Okay? In past years, it's been pretty similar. In 2024, it was Missouri at 6, 20.4, and it was Kentucky at 10 at 22.1. So somewhere in between there. And Arkansas that year gave up 25, which was 15th, but it was better than it was last year. 2023 was a pretty decent year for Arkansas, if I remember, on defense. Not so much scoring defense. No, not 2023. It was 24? Which year was Travis Williams' first year? Was that 24? That was 24. Yeah. Okay. That was the year that they improved defensively, I think. So, no, was that right? I don't know. Maybe, I'm not remembering it 100%. But anyway, yes, he is right in the fact that about 20 points per game if you want to finish in the middle of the SEC. I just wonder, like, how much learning curve could there be? Now, let's talk better scenario, like Arkansas actually winning some games. So I said 13, 31, 42, and 17. All right, how about Arkansas giving up 10 against North Alabama, 27 against Utah, 38 against Georgia, and 13 against Tulsa. That's probably a little bit more on the friendlier side. They could do better against Georgia. 38's a lot of points, but I mean, I guess if I were going to say, like, they play a really good game against Georgia, 31. Okay, so let's keep that on the positive side. So then you got 10, 27, 31, and 13. Somebody do the math on that. Okay. Excuse me. All right. So Joshua 11 says, Trey, in your opinion, what do you think KJ has to do this season for Coach Ryan Silverfield and Cramsey to want to retain him for next season? Also, do you have any intel on how summer workouts have been going and the particular players that have stood out? So I'll hopefully get some intel on how summer testing has gone, but I usually get that obviously after they do the final testing. So I don't have any intel right now on how summer workouts are going. I do know that obviously you spend 4 hours with your strength coach during the week. You spend 2 hours in the film room with the coaches. You spend 2 hours on the field with the coaches. They do about 14 OTAs, which they'll probably, if I had to guess, they will probably wrap that up next week. They will wrap that up at the end of next week, I would bet. Probably, 14 OTAs, so an hour each over the 8 weeks. So what do I think that KJ has to do this season for them to want to retain him? Win games. I mean, I would say they would need to feel like this guy is giving us plus play at quarterback. Like, if he's just average, I think that they would probably end up looking at other options. If they feel like he is a guy that can be a difference maker, then keep him. Like, to me, if you don't feel like your quarterback has a shot at the NBA, has a shot at the NFL, then he's not a quarterback you should have starting for you in the SEC. You need an NFL quarterback on your roster. Either that or a guy that's like a runner that's so dynamic that he projects at a different position. But that's what I think. I think you need a future NFL quarterback on your roster, a guy that's draftable in the NFL. So to me, take care of the football, make good decisions, and make big time throws when you got to make them. That's what he's got to do. We got to come out feeling good about KJ. We need to feel like people are buying, like kids are buying up KJ Jackson jerseys. River Valley Hog says, which position group on either side of the ball has the most potential to surprise people this year in a positive way? I think the defensive line, I've said that before, and it depends on who you're talking about. Like, surprise people on HawgSports, because people who are subscribed to us are generally diehards. You know, there was a guy, bless his heart, the other day who was calling in to drive time, and he was like asking about basketball. And it's like, well, we got Malik Ewan. You know, we got him down low. I'm like, no, Malik Ewan's gone. Oh, Malik's gone. Well, who's going to be the starting quarterback this year? Who are battling out to be the starting quarterback? You know, questions like that. I'm like, dude, Google it. You know, you can get that on Google. But people who are on HawgSports generally know the ins and outs of what's going on with the football program. That's why I like reading the questions. We generally get some good questions. But for you, I wouldn't say the defensive line was going to surprise you, because I've been talking about that a good bit. On offense, who's going to surprise? I mean, there's always potential at quarterback to be surprised, I would say, because I don't think that most people feel great about that, but nobody should feel like, not even the coaches should feel good about their situation at quarterback. I would feel very uneasy. You think you got what it takes, but who knows? You might not. So when traveling, are you a window or an aisle guy? I am an aisle guy, without doubt. I'm an aisle guy. I like to pop my knee out a little bit. So yes, without question, I'm an aisle guy. I can't remember the last time I've sat in a window seat. It's a good question. It's an important question. It's an important question. Usually when I'm traveling, I'll, like if it's 2 and 2, I'll put my daughter at the window, wife in the aisle, and then me on the aisle right across from her. If it's 2 and 2. Are there window people out there? Like the only time I would want to sit by a window is like if it's my first time flying or something. Otherwise, I'm sitting in an aisle, and I don't have really a preference if I'm on the right or left side. Hogs fan 479 says, what workouts from the Rocky training montages have you added to your routine for the upcoming Almasonic fight with Whiskey? Whiskey and I are good friends, but we do kind of have internet feuds going every once in a while. Just in all good fun. I watched parts of Rocky 2, and Rocky 4 last week. I'm gonna watch, just skipping through to my favorite parts and stuff. So I watched all of those montages. My favorite Rocky montage is possibly the one that I didn't watch, Rocky 3, just because he's with Apollo Creed and they're on the beach celebrating. It's just so stupid, Rocky 3 was kind of dumb. Rocky 3 doesn't get enough credit for how stupid it was. Thunder Lips with Hulk Hogan. Rocky 1 was such a fantastic movie, but the punching in those movies is so ridiculous. Just standing there getting smoked over and over, like somebody could withstand that. Just gloves down, and Rocky's coming back, and he's just killing him, It's hilarious. Gumpster 117 says, do you do any extra cardio in preparation for the walk and talk season? I probably should. I don't feel like I'm in the best shape. I played probably more golf this year than I ever have this summer, and which obviously cuts into the workout stuff. But the important thing to remember with walk and talk is you're going uphill the entire way, and you got a backpack on full of equipment, and you're talking. And since you're talking the entire time while you're walking, you're not breathing. And so you can get out of breath and not think about it And so what I have to kind of be conscious of as I'm doing the walk and talk is to pause, stop, talk about something that's going on right here, if I'm telling a story or where it happened, and have a pause moment so I can, continue going, because it's not so much the cardio, it's just the breathing overall, because you're walking uphill and carrying extra equipment. It's very physically grueling. Like, they should add it to the Ironman. Have you ever done a walk and talk in downtown San Francisco? No, but those hills, it would be very, very taxing. No, I've never been. You want to hear something crazy? I've never been to California. I've never been to California. I don't know. Am I missing something? Is it that great? The farthest west I've been to Las Vegas several times. I've been to Wyoming. Yeah, I've never been to California. Pittsburgh Squealer says, what is the worst game you've ever seen in Razorback Stadium, and why is it 2023 versus Mississippi State? Because it was 7-3. Arkansas was coming off of that big win against what did Arkansas? Because that was let me see, 2023 schedule. What was that following? Oh, that was not the big win. It was coming off the Alabama game. 2023 Arkansas football schedule. And I'll tell you what, there's a little Yurachek foot in the mouth comment here. So Arkansas had back-to-back games. They were playing Texas A&M, I guess, in Arlington. So this was the stretch. So after BYU, after a disappointing loss against BYU, they came back and they played great against LSU on the road. I was at that game. They let it go in the fourth quarter to a Heisman Trophy quarterback, 34-31. Then they played Texas A&M in Arlington. A&M had a good team that year. They beat them 34-22. And then they went to Ole Miss, lost 27-20, and then they went at Alabama and lost 24-21, actually battled in those games. But you lose that BYU game that year at home, and obviously it leaves a sour taste in everyone's mouth, and you don't come back. You don't come back home until October 21st. So the 16th through the 21st. So what, 6 weeks? You don't have a home game. For 6 weeks, you don't have a home game. And you come back home after all that time, and you played Alabama 24-21, and Hunter Yurachek gets on social media, gets on X, I don't even know if it was Twitter or X then, and says, these players deserve to have a packed stadium for this game against Mississippi State. So proud of these players, all this stuff. And they come back, and they lay an egg and lose 7-3. And the only score in that game for the offense was off an interception. Jalen Catalon made an interception that was in field goal range, and they kicked a field goal. And that was just a pathetic, embarrassing showing. KJ Jefferson passed for 97 yards in that game. That was pathetic. That was pathetic. That was the worst one. And that kind of gets me a little mad thinking about it. And Dan Enos was the most justifiable offensive coordinator fire in maybe the history of the SEC after that game. Pathetic. Dan Enos, here's something sorry. This is sorry. Dan Enos blocked me on Twitter. I don't even know why. It was before I ever criticized him. He's the only coach that has ever, not even Bobby Petrino, who blocked a large percentage of Arkansas media after the incident, he never blocked me. But Dan Enos, his clown ass, blocked me on X. Just saying. That's soft. And was DMing, exchanging text messages with students who were criticizing him because he wouldn't go for it on 4th and 1 with a quarterback sneak, which was stupid. I mean, anyway, that's super soft. All right, so Yeah, that Mississippi State game. That's the answer. Hey, if you haven't checked out Bet Saracen, if you sign up and use the promo code BIDDY250, capital B, lowercase IDDY 250, and you sign up on Bet Saracen, you put $25 down on your first bet, you will get $250 back in bonus money to use on Bet Saracen. Pretty sweet deal. Pretty sweet deal. Bet Saracen is the local people. We're going to be back with your questions and more in a moment.
Arkansas's Fab Five for Bet Saracen.
Yo, Sid, what spread you checking out, man?
I'm checking out the Hogs on Bet Saracen.
You know, Rainwater's exclusive specials and tons of Bet Saracen options make it Arkansas's favorite sports betting app.
And they take more action on the Hogs than any other sports book in the world.
Guys, I am confident it's because we do their TV ads.
I agree with that.
Amen.
Bet Saracen.
All right. Next up, back to your questions. Do you feel this is from Spog 2025? Do you feel comfortable enough with your new squad that you didn't have to play in the preseason, or was it conflict with the schedule? I think he's asking about our EA Sports College Football Dynasty, our 32-man dynasty. So I had that golf tournament all weekend. I mean, it started with practice round on Thursday. We played Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I never had time to get it in. We were doing a preseason tournament, so I wanted to do it, but and honestly, I have not had time to mess around with that guy. I have not played a real opponent in that game yet. So Calder Farm says, if you go out to eat with your wife, will you sit down in a seat that puts your back to the door or the entrance? That could be a trick question. So I will say instinctively as a man, I want to be facing the door. I want to be facing out, just like, I guess maybe that's a protection something idea. Like, I need to see if somebody's coming at you. In bed, I want to sleep. I'm going to sleep. Like if we're in a hotel or something like that, I'm going to sleep closest to the door always. Just again, I think that's a protective instinct measure for guys. But the only time I won't do that, I would say, if we're at a restaurant and we are seated at the back of the restaurant, to where she's going to have to face the wall if I do that, because I want her to have the better seat. So I will, in that case, I try to avoid that seat at all costs. If a waiter or waitress is going to sit me there and I see there are other options, I will ask, could we sit over there? Or we'll do this. If it is a booth, we'll do a side-by-side sit. So we're both sitting and facing outside. And we actually do like that. I know some people criticize that, but we actually do like sitting side-by-side if we have a booth where we're up against the back wall. But otherwise, yes, I want to see face the door or the entrance. Calder Farm says, why will you play video games up until your 80s? I don't know that I will. I'm a little worried about this video game. I mean, I have too many interests and too many people that I want to go drink beer with and stuff at night. And it's just, we advance every 2 days, and I've got football season coming up. August is going to be completely booked. And then it's road games every other weekend that I'm traveling for. And I want to hang out with my friends and hang out with my daughter, and she's got events and things to go to. It's going to be a challenge this year for me in the HawgSports League to keep up, I think, unfortunately. With PE becoming PE, you mean private? With PE becoming more of a thing in college athletics, to just open the door for Stevens to step up more for Arkansas. So he's saying private equity. I don't know that Stevens as a company is like in a position to do that. I think that people that are in position to do that are more Tyson, Walmart versus Stevens in terms of, the amount of money that they are worth. So I feel like it's probably, and it depends on like what you want to divide up, like how much of a piece are you willing to give up? if you're Arkansas. Dylan2323 says, is it possible to propose a state sales tax increase to fund NIL? I would not be for that. We don't want to do that. No new taxes, but also not. Yeah, I'm firmly against any idea of that. I'm thinking we could maybe tie it to tourism, duck stamps, trout, etc., and split the revenue to all the D1 schools based on some revenue percentage number. I even think a blanket half-cent tax might even pass if that were legal and possible. I'm against that. For taxes, for tax purposes, I say roads, education, those kinds of things. I'm not for that. I'll tell you one thing I'm against, and I hope Arkansas never does it, is these damn toll roads. There's nothing worse. Toll roads suck. And I feel like they lie to their citizens, like we're going to have a toll road for this number of years or whatever, and they keep it rolling. Nothing sucks more than you get home and you get a message from Oklahoma or Texas or something like, you got to pay this. It's just stupid. Toll roads are stupid. It's another way to get you. Big Daddy Bacon says, who is our Grant Morgan, vocal leader and good player? Grant Morgan, Martrell Spate, Wendell Davis. Just trying to think. Who is that guy? Hopefully it's Bradley Shaw. I don't know who that guy is, honestly. Maybe could be Hunter Osborne. Cam Ball was kind of that guy last year. Poor Cam Ball just beat up the whole time his last 2 years. It's unfortunate. Maybe Hunter Osborne could be that guy. Maybe Quincy. Maybe Quincy feels he needs to step into that role. You like it to be maybe more a guy in the middle of the defense or a safety, Hogs fan 479 says, what's worse, pineapple on pizza or raisins in potato salad? Raisins in potato salad is definitely worse than pineapple on pizza. I'll say this. I have always been against fruit on pizza, usually pineapple. A lot of people do like pineapple Canadian bacon. I don't like Canadian bacon that much. To me, it's like it's bacon or ham's, ugly cousin. Like, it's not as good as bacon and it's not as good as ham. It's Canadian bacon, which isn't as good as America. It's not as good as American bacon. Canada is not as good as America. Saw an interesting Bill Maher clip on that, by the way. Worth looking at. Why Canada is worse than America, or United States of America, both North America. But anyway, the rule that, like, if you eat something like 10 times, you start to like it. So my wife orders pineapple jalapeno pizza when we go to the Odd Soul, which I think is an underrated pizza joint. It's in Springdale. And lately, when we do that, I have eaten a couple slices of the pineapple jalapeno pizza, which I've always kind of been against. So I guess the more I eat it, the more I kind of like it, which is, that rule is true. I tell my daughter that all the time, especially when she was younger and she was a kind of a picky eater. It's like, if you just eat it a few times, you're going to start to like it. But raisins are not good in the first place. Like, I would way rather just have some grapes. Like, I like dried fruit. I eat a lot of dried fruit, actually. I like freeze-dried strawberries, freeze-dried bananas, banana chips, apple chips. Mango slices are the best thing, one of the best things in the world, I think. Like, dried mango is fantastic. And you don't get the powdered sugar-coated ones. Just get dried mango. Dried papaya, dried pineapple, goji berries. I like dried fruit. I would way rather have goji berries than raisins. Raisins suck. Final answer. All right, we've gone 105. Let's see where we're at here. We're going to get to some of the comments now and the questions. We've gone through all the Hog Sports Razor's Edge questions. We've got 501 viewers. Not bad for July. It's crazy how that number picks up once football starts going. How many people will be watching this show. Love it. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for letting me do what I do. Couldn't have a show without you. Babe, wake up. The new Trey Biddy dropped. Page boy. Razorback Pride says they're putting in the LED lights and surround system in the stadium. Are they? Are they? I haven't seen anything on that. I hope they are. You know, I'll say this, and I don't know if it's because I'm in the dead center of the stadium in the press area, but I can't understand what they're saying in the loudspeaker. At Auburn, at least when it was in the old press box, all the sound came out of like one speaker, I feel like, and you could hear everything that was coming out. But in Fayetteville, I don't know if it's just if you're on one side or the other, it's better, but I can't understand anything that's being said over the loudspeaker. Jaybird22 says, you're exactly right. It's the AD. Until we get a real AD, we'll be average or below. Mark my words. 100-yard check is a sickness. Only get better by cutting it out of the body. We're going to see. I mean, 100-yard check this is his last opportunity to hire a football coach that doesn't have success. Okay. He's got to have a stretch of success with Ryan Silverfield, or he'll be out too. It's just the way things work. I do feel like he's getting things together. I do feel like that's happened. I just feel like, what were you doing the past few years? Because it wasn't coming together. G-Money 06337 says, how often is the offense going to be huddling pre-snap? I think it'll be a mix. I think it'll be a mix. But probably usually not huddling, but I think there'll be times. I would say dramatically in favor of less huddling versus huddling. Chase Arkansas says you aren't missing anything. What am I not missing? It sucks. What sucks? Oh, you're talking about being blocked by Enos, or I guess. Chase Arkansas says Pittman blocked me for sharing the Woo Pig podcast. Weaker than baby, you know what? Pittman should not have done that either. That was a bad look by him. And I doubt it was something that they recommended he do eventually he got rid of his social media stuff. You can't do that. Here's the deal with Sam. He'd never been a head coach, and he was pretty beloved everywhere he went. We loved him here. We loved him as an offensive line coach. Tennessee loved him. North Carolina loved him. Georgia loved him. Georgia still loves him to this day. And he is not used to catching the criticism that he caught as a head coach. And I think it hurt him. I think it hurt his feelings. And I know his wife saw all of it and probably looked for that stuff way too much. So yeah, I think it hurt him. I just think he wasn't used to catching hell like that. Trey, how many wins would make this season a success? In my opinion, it's 4. If they have 4 wins, that's – what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say BS, but I guess just BS. If they have 4 wins, that's crap. That's a crappy season. I don't care. There's no rebuilding with 4. Like, it's just not. I'm sorry. Like, 5, I can say, okay, there's some sense that they're heading the right direction. They almost get bowl eligible, but 4 is 2 games away from bowl eligibility. That's winning what? Yeah, I'm 4 wins to me is not like, okay, get on board, everybody. This thing's headed in the right direction. And of course it matters like how you lose and stuff, but 4-8 is an ugly, ugly record. That is an ugly one. Okay. 5-7, while it's just one more win, that is not near as ugly looking, okay? That means you probably beat a couple of pretty decent teams. The only gimme wins, and I say gimme, I should say that lightly, but the only real wins you say Arkansas is definitely going to beat North Alabama and Tulsa, okay? So that's 2. So if you win 2 more than that, I mean, obviously that's probably winning either Utah or, 2 other SEC teams. I mean, that's notable, but to me, 4-8 is just, that's not going to put inspiration in anybody like, okay, here we come. Next year, guys, got a chance to get to 6. That's not going to inspire anybody. So, two conference wins, that was my point. Don't see us beating Utah. They need to beat Utah to me. That is an opportunity. They get enough. It's not like just brand new stuff and freshmen just enroll. Freshmen mostly, for the most part, have been enrolled. You're not relying on them anyway. You're not relying on, post-spring additions and stuff. You get basically 14 OTAs with them years ago, not even that long ago, just a few years ago. You didn't get any access to them at all during the offseason. 0. You couldn't even stand on a hill from a mile away and watch if you're the coach when they're doing player-led practices. Now you get real access with them. You get, they get 8 hours a week. Coaches basically get 4 hours a week with them. Strength coach gets the other 4. That's kind of how it works. So anyway, 4 wins isn't going to do anything for this state. I meant QB-wise, KJ is more than adequate. What were you asking, Arthur? So who would you have gone out, got at a price that would have allowed you any semblance of what? I can't understand that. So who would you have gone out, got at a price that would have allowed you have any semblance of competitive defense? All right. We're gonna cut it there. Appreciate you saying that, Razorback Zach. All right. That's the show. Thanks for joining me. I'm not sure if we're going to do a show on Thursday or not. It just depends. If something interesting happens, it's just we've got SEC Media Days coming up. We're going to have a walk and talk show. I mean, I guess we need to do a show Thursday because next week I will be at SEC Media Days. I'm not sure how I do the show setup. I got to figure that out, I guess. I might just be doing it from the hotel room or something on Monday. So we'll figure that out. We'll get it done. Maybe we do a show Thursday. Maybe we don't. We'll figure it out. All right, everybody. Appreciate you joining me. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. Thanks to Kevin Bohannon hopping on. Appreciate all your questions, your interactions. Give us a like, a thumbs up. Pound that subscribe button. All that good stuff. This has been Trey Biddy. They say you got to ask for that stuff. They say people don't do it unless you ask. So if I say, give me a like, thumbs up, whatever, hit the subscribe bell, hit the subscribe thing, hit the notifications bell so you're notified anytime we upload new videos. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Then the stats say that people will do it at a higher rate, so that's why everybody says it all the time. So do it. I would appreciate it, so I don't have to say that all the time because I get tired of saying the same crap. All right, everybody. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.